Peace to the tribes. Peace to the tribes, man. Shalom. I hope the vibe has been magnificent. And of course, a magnetizing one. Hey, to the real ones. Peace, peace, peace. Hawa, hawa. We are back with another classic, man. We are back with another classic. Hey, to everybody in the chat. We just, letting it build. But we jumping straight into it. So get right on in here. Let's nestle up. You know what I'm saying? Let's get cozy. This one is definitely going to be heavy, man. It's going to be heavy. We ain't taking no shortcuts. It's nothing to be shy about. We about to get straight into it. The last installment, the video before this one was done about 5 years ago. It's been 5 years since I, tapped in and, continue this piece. A lot of these drops were continuing from years ago. And I talk about them a lot. I refer to them a lot. I reference them a lot, and I'm like, why not go in on detail? Let's showcase exactly what the tribe means, And it's amazing, because surfing those old gems, I'm just reminded that we've inspired most of your favorite historians, man. We've definitely inspired most of your favorite historians, and in the earliest drops of most of the tribe, were a lot of the gems were just chilling, you know what I'm saying? And to see a lot of that stuff, now out in the forefront, taking a wave of its own, it's a trip. It's definitely a trip. All the more reason we're excited to go ahead and bring you this one. Peace, peace. So we definitely gonna be tapping into the Tepi, and from here on out we'll be breaking down the different points of it. All right. I make mention to this often. All right, because it is said to be the time where man achieved the highest of civilization that has never been replicated still to this day. As advanced as we like to believe we still haven't achieved this degree of sophistication. All right. And a lot of this, goes back into dealing with the ancients. When you hear me referring to the ancients, it's to the fact that, we had this earth plane to an all-time high. I mean, we took it to a place where, right? And this is the so-called past, which should inspire some thought as to what's really being challenged in a separation or in a so-called advancing from the past. All right. And we gonna cover a lot. This topic is heavy and it's a lengthy one, so we're gonna definitely take our time, and we're gonna go ahead and get acquainted with this Tepi, man. And it explains a lot as far as to the disappearance of certain cultures, what happened to them. We're gonna basically merge a lot, because it's technically not the same story, but one story, And these different accounts happen according to the separation of the land, so to speak. You know, in order to have something separate, things had to become divisible. And that's how you was picked off, right? You was picked apart. So putting the pieces back together to see the whole picture is definitely something that we specialize in. So hey, out to the real ones, peace to the loved ones, man. Let's get to it. The Tepi. The Tepi, alright? So part one, we definitely spoke on it and we touched on it. And so we're gonna take a deeper dive. Alright. Shalom to the tribe, to the Aniyanwias, Chickamauga. That is your Cherokee. We just talking tenacity. To the mound builders, autochthonous. All right. So jumping straight into it, we got during the fabled first time, or Zet Tepi, when gods or aliens ruled on Earth. The waters of the abyss receded, the primordial darkness was banished, and the human biogenetic experiment emerged from light. Alright, and we see it straight off the bat, and you know how we do, right? And the human biogenetic experiment emerged from light. Alright. It says the Urshu, a category of lesser divinities whose title meant the Watchers, preserved vivid recollections of the gods themselves, puissant and beautiful beings called the Neteru, who lived on Earth with humans in the beginning. Alright. So they have this understanding that the Watchers, the Neteru, the Anunnaki, the so-called Nephilim, angels, aliens, extraterrestrials, whatever the term may be, actually live on Earth with humans. And this is in the beginning. So, I mean, can you imagine the height, right? The height, the level of where civilization was. And, you know, the scripts say the same thing. Many ancient civilizations have tales, stories, myths saying the same thing. Alright? It says discoveries emerging from Egypt describe the existence of a worldwide pyramid system, temple system, a worldwide pyramid temple system in prehistory. Mountain-like antennas on key energy meridians, which were employed by ancient pre-scientists as harmonic tuning forks to stabilize the tectonic plates of the planet's cataclysmic geology. From the mother tongue word Jedediah, meaning the way of the word or the power of the word, the ancient Jedi priests used the language of light to tune the planet like a giant harmonic bell. Much is being rediscovered in the last days of this time cycle. Oh yeah, we about to get into some heavy, Shabbat. I hope you're ready. I hope you're ready for the heavy. Alright, so it was a worldwide pyramid temple system in prehistory, which is why I always refer to this time as the Tepi, because this is when energy, so-called Tesla energy, was being harmonized and utilized at its highest function. All right, today our energy system does not. In fact, it also gives off harmful radioactive energy that weakens and affects the body in negative ways, which is why you got to stay crystalled up. All right, so we're gonna go ahead right now and take a quick dive and get a quick look into the reference and example of this time referred to as the Tepi. And we just, we're gonna surf the waves. Peace to real ones. I hope your vibration is on point, on key. I just twisted up a roll cone, feeling marvelous right now with the real ones. We're in the ether. All right. And here we can see just how, at least they would say the pyramid was supposed to look. Right. In fact, before we continue with this, let's go ahead and see if we can get a quick breakdown, and then we'll jump back into it visually. Important things from history, everyone pictures incorrectly. All right, so let's get the drop. Again, we're digging on the Tepi, right? It says here the pyramids of Giza were originally white and shiny. The perception: pyramids are a marvel of ancient engineering. We get so busy being amazed by the pyramids with their massive, meticulously layered sandy golden bricks that we forget what we were seeing are the broken down remnants. If you can see them nude, you barely recognize them. They were much more awesome back then. All right. The reality, when what we think of today as the pyramids, are really just the exposed layers of the structural base. Ancient Egyptians had a strong culture of celebrating afterlife rituals with plenty of golden ornaments, utensils, and precious gemstones, which they believed would keep the person comfortable beyond this world. The glitter and glamour reached massive proportions for the tombs of pharaohs, which the pyramids encase, aspiring to be the most sparkling, shiny thing of all. The original outside consisted of smooth white limestone that hid the layers of brick, giving the effect that a pyramid was a giant solid piece. Alright, and it wasn't just a tomb. We'll definitely see how it, as we read, right? We just read that it was a stabilizing mechanism. Alright, so there were treasures of some sort. Some of them had a couple of pharaohs, but that wasn't their functioning, and it wasn't their sole purpose. And this goes for all pyramids. This is just not so-called Egypt. You know what I'm saying? So dig on it. We gonna really, yeah, man, we gonna tap in. All right. Says, thus came the pyramids with a structural base of staggered yellow limestone bricks cased in an outer layer of Tura limestone. The white Tura limestones were then polished to create an impression of a solid triangular surface which could reflect sunlight. So already we're getting into the harnessing and the harmony of the frequency of light. All right, you've been digging on this Ethereans. You should already be putting 2 and 2 right about now. But just in case you don't, we like to get it like it's the first time. This might be the first time you watching a video of mine. Our subject on the Ethereans are the beings sourced from this light directly, right? And through, obvious studying, through research, through surfing the wave, that's what we refer to as surfing the wave, we've come to the realization that melanin rich people are a personification of the ether itself because of what the carbon rich element within the skin tone, within the pigmentation, actually converts this light, this energy, this solar drift of life. It converts that into something positive and beneficial that can be used instead of having such radiation destroy and degenerate the body. So in a sense, it's a way of natural perfection, showing a complete balance and a love to some esteem into being created or made or designed. All right. It says, the astonishing precision of this polishing could be gauged from the reflection of sunlight, often reaching 1/100th of an inch. These Tura limestone casing stones had length, breadth, and height dimensions of nearly 5 feet. A polished stone weighed close to 15 metric tons. But the original stones were often up to 40 metric tons and were polished and cut at their final location to perfectly align with the face angle of that side of the pyramid. Don't ask how they got so many of those arranged in such perfect alignment. Mankind has been choking up on that stat for a while. What we can say is that the structures as big as the pyramids with their shiny limestone walls reflecting sunlight probably shone like a bright jewel and could be noticed from miles away. And, that's a trip, right? Because it's like, how would they be able to know that? All right. How would they be able to know that? What would give them the science to a degree to want to express this exactly, right? According to the theory, when we're talking advancement, they use words like evolution. So if it took such a long time to evolve and for the process to get to where it needed to be, at least for man to now be in the state we now recognize them as man or mankind, woman and man, why would so-called extraterrestrials want to, live aside and alongside with so-called man? A lot of your ancient stories about these times come off on the sense that, these beings were hostile. But in the form and the breakdown we're getting from the Tepi, we're looking at somewhat of an equality, right? Because these beings see man as equals, if not something higher. All right, so this is a lot to consider and take in. This is the build or the level of the build we're building on when it comes to this topic. All right, which is why we asked to get your quartz vision turned up. All right, so now that we kind of got a good background, we sort of understand the complexity and just the overall greatness that went into the production of such things. Let's go ahead and take a look at this timer. All right. Aloha to everyone surfing the wave. You know, you just jump from there. All right, so here we can see it. For what it is. I mean, you let them tell it, they'll say that, you know, skyscrapers and the such of today were the means of society, right? But most of these places don't deal with frequency and the harmonizing of energy. They're just towers where a lot of people tend to work, right? And it's a certain type of work that reflects the overall, you know, utilization of such buildings. They're not really doing anything for the earth itself. All right. So here we can see just, you know, certain renditions of them. We're just getting an imagining, right, of what was once. How they look now, and how they should have been, right? Alright, so here again we're talking about harnessing energy. So we can see the mathematics and the sacred geometry that goes into it, especially for those who are interested in surf the wave with crystals, right? Because right here we definitely see, hey, there's a pattern, and whenever there's a pattern, it's a form of communication by design, a harmony, it's a frequency, it's a vibration. All right. So see, they're getting into the Tesla coil, unknown voltage, a copper pyramid, and then a double helix time exposure. What does this look like? Right? What does this look like? DNA. All right. Check this out. So see, it was the same functioning. The Great Pyramid of Giza, Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower. all the stuff that we are fascinated with, especially when it refers to Tartaria, is a reflection of the science that the ancients have been putting down. More specifically, we're jumping into the Tepi. All right. You think this is a coincidence or not? You know, this alignment with so-called stars. When we're talking about stellar knowledge, right? The precision and the accuracy of such things. Yeah, man. This level of sophistication, is it a coincidence? You know, they'll say this only happened with the help. What we'll tell you is that the level was so high, the expression of the knowledge inward was so extreme that it brought an invitation to interdimensional beings. All right, it was an invitation. They saw this as an invitation. So this level of sophistication was already reached, which opened the doorway to such things happening. All right. And again, it had to be a form of equality. There had to be a relation to be expounded upon. Okay, you just don't take monkeys, engineer them, and then see them as equals and pop off. Contrary to the major belief. Nah, that's not what happened. You know, those that tampered with the genetics and created such things were trying to, as we'll get, right, they were trying to build on the manifestation of incarnation, which means they basically wanted to experience the life. And that's what this was about, experiencing the life. All right. That's what this was about. All right. And no, this is not a coincidence. These are pinpoints showing a specific knowledge that, hey, at this time period, this is what the earth was about. This is what was going on. And your scriptures make mention, right? It says the pyramids of Giza are considered to be ancient energy machines. They were huge structures that could use the properties of the earth to create a large amount of energy. It was believed that this energy was used by other cultures such as Maya. You see what I'm saying? We're talking about a worldwide pyramidal temple system. This is, and we touched on this in part 1. And we're going to get to it again in this installment. All right? Hey, hard to the real ones, man. Because today's skyscrapers don't do these. It doesn't do this. All right? Did you know Egypt is not the country with the most pyramids? Sudan has 255 no pyramids, nearly twice the number scattered across Egypt. Alright. So we're gonna go ahead and continue this build. We got some more to look at. Hey, how's a real one? It says the Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt, and many of them were plundered and destroyed by looters. Over the years, severe weather conditions and a lack of preservation have taken a toll on these magnificent monuments. Now, shifting sand dunes and sandstorms pose the biggest threat to these pyramids. All right. Let's get that back. You know, these things are pretty dope. And you can see from the architecture, this is the same type of architecture in the doors and the panels of such that they find in Peru and, you know, Central South America, all over the place, right? This architecture. So it's showing correlation and a connection to the same thing. All right. And, you know, of course, when you have different regions, when you have so-called different land masses, you're always going to have different politics. So, of course, even if all of these people had the same info, the same knowledge, at some point in time, there's going to be a difference of opinion. There's going to be some pride, some ego popping off, and sides are going to be formed and chosen, and there's going to be a clash. It's only natural within the scheme of things, you know, especially when you're talking about different nationalities, different so-called backgrounds. All right. See, this popping off was one of a kind. Oh man, we keep doing that. All right. And as you can see, these don't look like the pyramids of Egypt. But if you look as to the artwork, the walls, you see otherwise, right? And again, these people look the same across the plane. All right. It's not until later, some time later, you start to get different aspects of this, you know, of what we call mankind. And that's just the truth, right? It's not until sometime after different variations of man start to appear, which account to different races, right? But in these different centers of energy, right? These concentration centers of study and initiation and ritual and so forth, you have an origin, right? And the origins to these systems aren't the same. So this is why we have so-called different religions, because these different religions pinpoint back to different star systems. Okay, and it's within these different star systems that we get variations, and you get politics. Not all these entities are the same. Not all these gods are the same. They don't all come from the same place. They're not all of the same position. There is hierarchy. There are rankings, and so you're gonna have differences. And all of this was done, matched, felt, expressed right here on the earth. All right. See, notice how they'll say all these people, all of them, man, disappeared mysteriously in the 14th century. They didn't disappear. In the last video that I made, we ended on the note of us getting into it with the archons, right? Well, yeah, these archons have wiped our memories specifically. Now, there are records leading back to this remembrance, and it's a building on how to get there, right? But stemming from the people that have been here that no longer know or can remember properly outlines a forgetting of a huge amount, right? All right. Again, the same skin tone, the same complexion. All right. And this is all across the plane up to a certain point. And they say the same thing about all of them. Right? Looters and people just destroying them. It's a pattern. Right? I mean, how can looters even get up in here without anyone noticing, unless that the same looters are the archaeologists or those who have access to get up in there? But now, as you see, we're talking about Peru. We're in Americas, and it's still the same thing. This is why when we were highlighting in it, Etherians, this is especially part 3. I'm giving highlights on the pyramidal energy, showcasing exactly, the means behind this, right? We're going to go ahead and continue. But I mean, you dig this, you check it out for yourself, right? These people look the same, man. All across the plane. Are you talking Tepi? It's a beautiful flow, a beautiful charge. Peace to the tribe. Peace to the tribes. See how the water is right there, that primary flow? Water was always a part of your functioning. Nature was always a part of your functioning. To be within nature, to be natural was always a part of your functioning. we got some more we gonna dig on. Peace to the real ones. Let's continue this good vibe. Hey, I'm talking all across the plane, my nigga. All right. And this is all across America. Everybody popping off. So obviously the consciousness was similar, which is why I keep, reaffirming these people pretty much look the same, because it's the study, it's the expression of how they look, because how they look had a lot to do with how they got here. It taught them a lot about where they came from. How they looked is what also attracted these other entities. It's a lot that goes into that, right? They know it's what makes you special. All right. I mean, just magnificent structures. Amazing. This is Guatemala. Shouts out to Guatemala. Piedras Negras. All right. Like we said, you're always next to that water. Always out in nature, all right? With the fences, Levitical cities, sectioned off, bordered off. You know what I'm saying? Straight to the back, like, this is where it was. This is where it was at. Tenacity, right? Yeah, this look like China right here. I mean, who knows? knows, right? This could be the China that was around when we talking Prester John. When we talking Prester John, this look like the China, all right? This looks like it. I mean, this is looking kind of crazy. Peace to the bro. Doing amazing builds, man. Giving y'all that water. Multiple hours of just pure water flow. It's nothing like surfing a wave. Alright. They said this was worldwide. This is what natural means when he refers to the Tepi. You see what I'm saying? Like, this looks like the little China, man. Look at all this melanation that's going on. Look at all this melanation that's going on. I mean, look. There's a lot going on. You see the way the temples look? There's a lot going on. I know you can see it with me, tribe. We're connecting dots. Alright. And all of these things have to do with the expression, the knowledge, the wisdom within, the connection. Alright? Hey, to such a magnificent flow. Hawa, hawa. We're just building with the tribe. Peace to the real ones. Always next to that water, to the lushness. Alright? I mean, it doesn't stop. So we got that these were ancient machines, energetic machines, machines of energy. Alright? Surrounded by the frequency. Naturally. Alright? See that? See that? It's for a reason. They talking to you. They talking to you. Alright? It's an amazing build, Shabbat. So something happened. something got you out of this and started whipping up skyscrapers, or somebody else put skyscrapers right on top of you. Alright, you can say there was a pyramid for every city, every town over here in America. Hey, let's continue on with this bill. Alright, so getting back to the Zep Tepi, right? It was saying that this was the first time, or when gods or aliens ruled on Earth. It says the waters of the abyss receded, the primordial darkness was banished, and the human biogenetic experiment emerged from light. Okay, so even when we're talking about, like, for instance, I remember the elder, rest in power, wrong one, Deborah Blair, right, mentioned Cairo and the etymology of Cairo. Alright, dig on the etymology of Cairo. It says the name is derived from the Arabic al-Gharira, meaning the vanquisher or the conqueror, giving by whoever this would be, right? Following the establishment of the city as the capital in the Fatimid dynasty. All right. They said that it had the meaning of the vanquisher, of Al-Muez. It is also supposedly due to the fact that the planet Mars, known in Arabic by such names as the same name, all right, which was the conquering star, was rising at the time of the city's founding. So you mean to tell me these people just built a city and raised it up, and at that same time Mars was just in the sky, so they saw Mars and was like, let's name this joint Mars? Nah, right? Like, we're talking to Zep Tepi. And the script says that these watchers left their positions from time to time and did visit Earth. Watchers. Alright? It is in the script. It says there are a number of Coptic names for the city. Keep this in mind, Coptic, right? Keep this in mind, because we're going to come back to this later on. Coptic. It says that the name also meant manbreaker, to break man. All right. And when you think about Mars, Mars is the so-called god of war. So to break man is something that I can definitely understand, especially if we're going to consider the construction of the so-called pyramid or pyramids. It's just something to consider. All right, when we're talking about those that ruled on Earth, the Zep Tepi. They also say that there were beautiful beings called the Hibiru who lived on Earth with humans in the beginning. All right, in the beginning. So let's get a glimpse of this Hibiru. Hibiru means the gods and goddesses. But the Netarian teaching of the Hibiru represents more than the usual limit modern day concept of divinities and spirits. Alright, so outside of the modern day concept, the modern day concept. We're not talking about what you might refer to normally as such. So we're gonna go ahead and get a quick glimpse as we carry on. Alright, so here we have a list of the Hibiru. Alright. And you know, it is often said that America is Egypt, Egypt is America. And that would make a lot of sense considering that the animals, most of the animals depicted in Egyptian mythology are actually American animals. Alright. Shout out to my bro that put that out there. When he made that correlation, it was like, damn. You know what I'm saying? So, and when we check out, look at this Nibiru, right? Geb, the earth. It doesn't look like an animal. The earth, right? It's personified as what? A man. Alright. When we get to Amun or Amen, again, it's a man. Alright, in contrast to everything else. Again, we're talking the Nibiru, the beings that lived alongside with man, right? See how everybody else looks. A man, alright? Carrying on. We're talking Nibiru. Alright. Tepi. The Hibiru and the Hebrew king. You see it. A Hebrew king. The Hibiru and the Hebrew king. Peep it. The Nibiru are deities of ancient Kemet. They are aspects of the Creator. There are hundreds of Nibiru. Here are some of the Nibiru that have been included in this book and their attributes. NTR is a name for the Most High, the source of all. Right? And that's the root word to natural, to nature, to such. Right? And that's really what I came here to highlight and just basically show. NTR. Alright, is a name for the Most High, the source of all. As natural as it gets. Alright, we're just talking Nibiru. So this Nibiru will also be considered angels. So when we're looking at their version of Asar, again, we're talking about a man. All right. The omnipresence, you are one with all. All right. Here you have Tahuti. So forth and so forth. And this is their version of the tree of life. And when you get down to Geb, again, it's man as the physical earth. All right, so when we look at number one says it is the omnipresence you are all one with. All right. Number two, Tahuti being an omniscience, all knowing. The second division of the spirit, the will of God, the seat of intuition. Sakurt or Shakim is the omnipotence, all powerful, third division of the spirit, the seat of understanding. All right. Here you have Mayat, laws that govern nature, interdependence, interrelationship, synthetical thinking. So this is probably due to the fact that they were in the same consciousness building with these pyramidal structures. All right. Here you have Hibiru, the divine justice, executor of the law, analytical thinking. Or Huru Kuti, because there go Hibiru right here, okay? So Hibiru represents the circumspect thinking of free will. Then we have Het Hibiru, congregative thinking, the imagination, social harmony, joy, artistic expression. You have Sebek, which is the segregative thinking, thoughts, ideas, belief, rationalism, syllogistic logic. Then you have Aset, which is the devotion, dreams, trance, the ego, seat of early learning. It says the fifth division of the spirit, 7, 8, and 9, your inferior man and woman. Okay, so these are basically the breakdown of the different levels to the body and to the spirit. 10 being finally the physical form. You have your raw electromagnetic forces, the sixth division of the spirit, and you have Kab, or the atoms and molecules, the seventh division of the spirit. Okay, your upper Ruach, which is your superior man and woman, 4, 5, and 6. 4, 5, and 6 represents your superior man and woman. And as you can see, you finally get to the top, right? You see how he's sitting down in a pyramid structure, right? Because this is the human body. As you can see, the human body. Alright. So this is their tree of life, and they're pinpointing what is what. Alright. So we're going to go ahead and continue on and figure out what else this Tepi is talking about. Peace. So we see that they also mention the Watchers. And they say that the Watchers preserved vivid recollections of the gods themselves. The Watchers. Alright. And obviously, we haven't even dug into this website, this article, not much at all. We've gotten to the first couple of sentences, and look at how much we've already uncovered. Okay, so this is how it goes when you in the flow with the tribe, when you're surfing the wave right here with this channel. Yeah, it gets intense, right? Because, excuse me, I tend to break things down accordingly, just the way we're doing it right now, right? And this is how I gain the full perspective, the quartz vision. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into the Watchers, and let's get a glimpse of what's going on. So we know exactly what's happening during the first time, this period they refer to as the Tepi. It says the Watchers, all right? We must now move on to one of the earliest of all origins of secret societies, from which is derived much of the terminology and symbolism still used today by the Freemasons, Rosicrucians, and many others. The Watchers, otherwise known as the Sons of God, and in Hebrew as Irem. Keep in mind, there are two ways to look at this. You can look at this from a view of before mankind, where the Watchers or the Sons of God would be your melanated ones, or at least their direct ancestors. Or you can see this as during mankind, right? And that these Watchers are angels or whatever that have a direct influence in the producing or the genetic making of other races. And that's how you're going to be able to look at this, considering how you surf the wave. All right. As we continue, it says, in doing so, we shall be taking a look at the very origins of the first secret societies and influences of the astrotheology and serpent worship upon them. Zachariah Stitching in the Stairway to Heaven states the Akkadians called their predecessors Sumerians and spoke of the land of Shumer. It was in fact the biblical land of Shinar. It was in fact the biblical land of Shinar. It was the land whose name Shumer literally meant the land of the Watchers. It was indeed the Egyptian Ta-Neter, land of the Watchers, the land from which gods had come to Egypt. So Sumeria could mean land of the Watchers, and it is from this land that the Elohim, or the shiny ones, all right, the shiny ones who governed the Watchers also came. In the origin of consciousness and the breakdown of the bicameral mind, Julian Jaynes tells us something interesting about these governing gods. Throughout Mesopotamia, from the earliest times of Sumer and Akkad, all lands were owned by gods and men were their slaves. Of this, the cuneiform text leaves no doubt whatever. Each city-state had its principal god, and the king was described in the very earliest written documents that we have as the tenant farmer of the god. And this is where kings would come from, right? This is why kings would get elected, because they were the tenant farmers. And this is exactly how it is today. You're a tenant, you're a farmer. All right, so the hijack is never late. The hijack is never late. And when you get these correlations as to what was going on, you can see the force, or at least the mindset that is being projected onto the masses. Okay, this is a strong connection right here, especially for people who pay rent, because it's like you live still in this same format. So let's take a look at these Elohim for a moment to find out who these gods were that supposedly enslaved men and were in charge of the Watchers. Elohim, this is the term used most often in the Old Testament and other texts outside of it, as in the Muslim Allah equals Elah or Elah for the Lord. An incorrect usage, as the term is plural and means shiny ones. Shiny ones. Now this should be ringing bells, right? Shiny ones, because we talk about the shiny ones when it comes to being an Etherian. But more on that later, okay? We can see this plurality in the text from Genesis 1:26. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." And again in Genesis 6:2, the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair. This term, sons of God, is literally sons of God and comes from Ben Ha Elohim, sons of the shiny ones. All right, sons of the shiny ones. And this is what I mean when it comes to this melanin, to be carbonate rich, to be carbon rich, to be rich in melanin, melanated rich. All of these things refer back to the connection to the so-called sons of gods, the Elohim, the Watchers, the shiny ones, the Anunnaki, all of them. This is why these melanated cultures express the harmony of what it was to actually be melanated, because it's bigger than just pigmentation. This is an expression. Your very genetic makeup is a science of extreme quality. High tech, all right? Your body is high tech, my nigga. The Sumerian El means simply bright or shiny. The Old Irish El Lil means shining. Old Cornish El means shining. Elf means shiny. Hence elves as tall, mysterious, angelic beings. Inca Illa is a bright or to shine. Babylonian Elu is to shine. To name just a few, have sprung up worldwide from the same source. That have sprung up worldwide from the same Sumerian source. Keep this in mind, okay? Sprung up. It says Baal, right? Or Baal. The deity often spoken of as the Lord in the Bible is also seen as a shiny one in the Old Testament and is called the owner. At that time, there were many owners or shiny ones. In fact, there was one for each village. To these Hebrews, the Elohim were nature divinities from ancient Sumerian times. According to General Albert Pike, the famous Masonic historian in Morals and Dogma, the Elohim were the host of heaven, ascending and descending to pass messages to and from God or leader Yahweh. The host of heaven were, of course, the stars in the night sky humanized. All right. Some of the shiny ones were termed the watchers and are akin to angels of the Lord. Yahweh Elohim, simply leader of the shiny ones. All right, leader of the shiny ones. So now we have these plural Elohim or shiny ones as gods being above even the kings and supplying watchers to watch over man. As Stitchin pointed out, they were also in Egypt. This Taneter that Stitchin mentions resembles the Egyptian Niru. All right, now pay attention. NTR is what we already got, right? NTR, which was one of the names of the Most High. Also the root word for nature, natural. A name for Ptah and other gods, which means guardian or watcher. Ta-Neter also is the name for the Red Sea Straits, which connected Mesopotamia and Egypt and is known as the place of the gods. And it sounds like what's the name of that? That one spot in Mexico though. I can't even think of the term. Teotihuacan. All right, Teotihuacan, known as the place of the gods. It's the same thing. All right, the Neter or the Nibiru word means and is derived from the concept of neutrality and is simply the place between, the path between the pillars, or the place between awake and sleep that we spoke of earlier in this chapter. And that's always what I said as far as being natural, right? Natural puts you in a state of being neutral, but neutral is not necessarily a bad thing. And I don't mean as far as in not picking a side. I mean neutral as in a state of energy. Right? When you're neutral as far as the state of energy goes, you can take on positive or negative. You're just an intermediary, a host. It says these watchers were also known as the Urshu. All right, and that's exactly what the article mentioned, right? It said the Urshu, a category of lesser divinities whose title meant the watchers. The Urshu, so that's what we're digging on right now. The Urshu speak of the Nibiru as if it were they who were the gods, and the Urshu the watchers. Whatever the truth is in this matter, it is no wonder that confusion has arisen over so many thousands of years. The fact remains, though, that the ancients spoke of a time when there were gods or shiny ones who ruled down Sumeria and Egypt and who employed watchers over the ordinary folk. In the same way, a pharaoh of Egypt was a god on earth, so too priests of the Elohim were stars on earth. Stars on earth. And we've been touching on this science about how you are of the stars, right? You are elementally bonded into your genetics, your skin. This is the whole purpose behind DNA, right? The capsulated stardust. To experience incarnation. You are here to understand and forego this fine tuning, right? You're here to transform the soul, the spirit, to become rich in spirit and soul experience, to perfect the alchemy. You have to perfect the energy. This is the alchemy. To be alive is the alchemy. Right? The Most High has put you in a state of refinement. Therefore, you come to the earth to be purified through pain, through the expression and the incarnation of feeling, to be challenged, put through by way of forceful understanding, struggle, to grasp the bigger picture. And what's the bigger picture? completion, oneness with that which you came from, to get back home. The Egyptian Book of the Dead calls these watchers Anubis and Horus, in the form of Horus the sightless. Others, however, say that they are the Cha-Cha who bring not the operations of their knives, and others say that they are chiefs of the Sheno chamber. And this is interesting. All right, the Cha-Cha who bring not the operations of their knives. Takes me to maybe like some Cain activity. All right. Anubis and Horus being a part of these watchers. So given what we've known about Anubis being a watcher and the dog-headed ones. So even in ancient Egypt, by the time of the writing of the Book of the Dead, there was confusion. According to Stitch in the Wars of Gods and Men, they had come to Egypt. The Egyptians wrote from Ta-Ur, the far foreign land, whose name meant oldest, but could also have been the actual place name, a place well known from Mesopotamia and biblical records, the ancient city of Ur. We should note at this point that this Ur is the same place that the father of the world's three greatest religions, Abraham, is also said to have trained. According to the legend of Wotan, note similarity with the Nordic Wotan, who is said to have come across the sea from Mesoamerica. This Wotan was the serpent who was a descendant of the race of Khan and was called a guardian or a watcher, amazingly similar to Canaan, as such people as Zelia Noodle in papers of the Peabody Museum have suggested. It says these Canaanites are implicated in many places revolving around the shiny ones and the original serpent priest, another name for the shiny ones. And we always run into the Canaanites, man. We always run into the Canaanites. All right. The descendants of the race of Khan. We're digging on Khan right now. All right. The serpent was known in the language of Canaan variously as Ob, Ob, Oph, Ap, If, Ev. In the Mayan language, Khan also means serpent, as in Kukulkan, the bird serpent, and just as in the ancient Sumerian Akan and the Scottish Khan for serpent, which is where we get the word canny, like the wise snake. Vulcan, sounding like Wotan, and Wotan, the Roman god of fire, comes from Babylonian Khan for serpent and Vol for fire, showing an etymological link across thousands of miles and oceans, and meaning therefore that Vulcan is the shiny serpent. Indeed, even the very center of the Christian world, the Vatican means or comes from the words Vatis for prophet and Khan for serpent, making the Vatican a place of serpent prophecy. And I know that would freak a lot of people out, right? But we already understand the power behind the Khan if we're talking Dracons. You being your Khan, you're in priest mode, right? A Kohen, a Khan. When you say Kohen, it's really Khan. You just remove the O, right? Because the sound, the Ah is the base of pronunciation. So when you say Kohen, it's just Khan. Khan, Kohen, it's the same thing. Khan. Khan is also yes, right? So it says the Hebrew termed these watchers as none Rishayan, meaning those who watch. In the Greek, this is translated as gigantes or giants, a race that even the 907 BC writer Hesiod featured as being monstrous due to their serpentine aspect, no doubt. Now we can understand the role of the giant seen across the world of folklore as the presence of the Watchers. Okay. And, this was just a quick little catch up as to what was being mentioned and referred to by the shiny ones, the Watchers, and so forth. All right. And we just want to get some background so we know what we're referring to when we're talking about who was living on Earth with mankind at the same time. All right. And this is exactly the type of information that we're keying in on when we read the script. All right. The script leads us into all of this. At least me, when I'm surfing the wave, I'm fully tapped in. All right. I'm fully tapped in. So let's get back to the article. Let's finish digging on this Tepi. All right. It says discoveries emerging from Egypt describe the existence of a worldwide pyramid temple system in prehistory, mounted like antennas on key energy meridians, which were employed by ancient pre-scientists as harmonic tuning forks to stabilize the tectonic plates of the planet's cataclysmic geology. And that's a whole lot. It says from the mother tongue word Jedediah, meaning the way of the word. Keep this in mind, right? Because we're going to really tap into this. The way of the word, or the power of the word. The ancient Jedi priest used the language of light to tune the planet like a giant harmonic bell. The language of light. Right? Which is why this is part 2. It says the outer walls of the temple Edfu, dating to the Pyramid Age, depict the Tepi whose kings were the Nidarus or Netters or gods. All right. Along with the list of mythological gods we find encoded in the gridstones of the creation of the human experiment, we find the Tepi. Within the void called time and space, there are those who move from reality to reality, creating the programs in which souls experience. They move through the place known as 0 point, where matter and antimatter merge to create new realities. It is the place where positive and negative collide to destroy matter and recreate again. Tepi refers to the first time, a remote epoch prior to ancient Egypt. All right, prior to ancient Egypt. It is a place of awakening and a place of forgetfulness. It is the beginning and the end of all and everything. It is the home of the creational forces, those who bend and shape realities through sound, light, and color. The term zipper, closing and opening, rips in time, movement through space-time. DNA is a polymer or encoded DNA. See, we're talking your genetics, my naga. Which is why, again, the ancients always had a high expression of this information. You want to have a topic to talk about forever, it is pertinent you understand what it means to be a melanated individual. There is no subject more discussed when truly realized the magnificent detail that went into the design of you. Zep Tepi is Genesis. Zep means time, Tepi means first. Together they are the first time, or the golden age of alchemy, where the gods moved through the void and created the grids of our reality. We know them as the Egyptian gods, highlighted by Osiris, who is associated with Orion, god of resurrection and rebirth. They allegedly came to this reality loosely based on the precession of the equinoxes approximately 12,500 years ago. Dodge all hijacks at all costs. Alright. But here we see the connection, right? And how are they even getting this information if there isn't a link being made, a bridge that is crossed? It says at Zet Tepi, the constellation Orion, acknowledged as the most significant constellation to the ancient Egyptians, was at its lowest position in the southern sky. From Zet Tepi onward, precession of the equinoxes has been gradually carrying Orion Osiris higher and higher in the sky. The Sphinx is positioned such that in 10,500 BC, time of Zep Tepi, give or take a few hundred years, a remarkable astronomical arrangement of the sun, Orion, and the constellation of Leo occurred, Leo being the lion-crowned king. So the Sphinx is representing the age of Leo. So the Zep Tepi was, according to them, during the time of Leo. All right. Now, they were mentioning this zero energy and the shiny ones. I want to take you to a book that I came across, and let's take a look into the shiny ones. We looked at the Watchers, we looked at the Nibiru. Let's look at the shiny ones, or at least let's begin to look at the shiny ones. So we're gonna go ahead and take a peek into that. Alright, so here's the book that I was referring to. We're gonna go ahead and tap in onto it. The shiny ones. An account of development of early civilizations through the direct assistance of powers incarnated on Earth from the material spiritual planes of the astral and causal regions. Alright. A philosophical discussion based on ancient mystical and secular documents from the mythology of all races and on the personal experiences of saints of many persuasions. This is what we will be digging on, alright? I want to bring you guys down. It's a lot of information within this, for sure. Alright. And it is not possible to comprehend these mysteries of creation till we have crossed the frontiers of mind and Maya, the two lower spiritual regions, and one should leave them alone. Yes, souls who are permanent denizens of these regions, the two lower ones, sometimes incarnate themselves in this world in accordance with the scheme of creation, and after doing their work, go back to their place. Other souls also, for one reason or another, are staying in these regions, do from time to time incarnate here primarily for speeding their progress or seeking higher initiations in order to reach Sat Desh, the highest spiritual region. Alright. It says the shining ones described here were such incarnations working on Earth within the framework of the overall creation structure. So we're gonna see what we can get out of this drop. I mean, let's look at the titles, right? I mean, let's just look at it. And we're gonna get into some interesting things that we've definitely spoken on. All right, check it out for the drop. I mean, we're gonna be in here breaking this down for a good bit. To dig on. Alright, we got a lot to dig on. We're gonna dig. Look. My goodness. Chapter 19. Westward to the New Earth, the Americas. Alright. We gonna dig, man. Alright. So a whole lot of good stuff up in here. So let's get to the part where I want to get us to, so we can go ahead and dive in respectively. They get to talking a lot of Jesus, so I kind of want to glance over that for now. We'll come back to it if necessary, but I'm gonna skip all that if possible. Give me a little bit, family, as I dig through this. You can see there's definitely a lot of drop. Goodness, see, we just got through touching on all of this too, right? So this is all from the shiny ones. Amazing. Alright, so we're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Alright. Here's where I want to start us off at, right? the structure of creation. And we're just going to get a simple grasp on the different material planes or the different planes of materialization. And we're going to be digging in this source for quite some time. So we'll definitely be able to continue to dig on this and break it down. All right. So it says the structure of creation. And we're going to jump down and start right here. It says, actually, the higher realms are such that no sort of understanding can be conveyed to human intelligence. Only as one travels upward with his master from plane to plane can their nature and extent be comprehended. The lowest division is called Pinda. It is the region of gross physical matter with a limited admixture of spirit which is necessary to life. All of the untold millions of universes, galaxies known to our astronomers are but a very small portion of the grand total of the Pinda region. And Pinda is but a speck floating in the Brahman region. Brahman is the next higher division. It is divided into 4 regions with gradually increasing intensity of spirit. The first of these spiritual regions is called Sanhansdo Kanwal, meaning 1,000-petaled lotus. It is in the region known as the astral plane and is the heaven of most worldly religions. It is here that one first meets the radiant form of one's master. There is then another man hidden inside of this physical man, a much finer body called by the masters the astral body or light body. It is so called because when seen it appears to sparkle with millions of radiant particles resembling stardust. It is much lighter and finer than a physical body. It says the astral body every person possesses and uses here and now, although he may be entirely unconscious of it, and is through by means of this finer body that the mind and soul are able to make contacts with the physical body and the outside world. This finer body takes shape and colors in harmony with the character of the individual. On the astral plane where we function in the astral body, no deception is possible. Everyone is just as he is, for the astral body reveals his true nature. The astral body has its 5 senses, just as has the physical body. When the physical body dies, this finer body remains as the instrument of expression in that higher realm of life called the astral plane. The second spiritual region is called Trukuti, meaning 3 prominences or 3 mountains. It is known as the mental or causal region and is the region of the universal mind. And let's see, we can get a bit more of this breakdown right here, right? It says mystics and seekers experience higher states of consciousness as they ascend path to spirituality. In the Vedic system, these are termed Pinda, Anda, Brahm, Par-Brahman, and Paramatma. All right, so it says Dram Kand, right? The realm of morality or righteous Pinda. Our physical plane of seasons, days, nights, wind, fire, earth, and water ruled by laws of action and reaction. Here all beings are judged by karmas. As shall you sow, so shall you reap. Dharam Raj is the arbiter of all actions. Messengers of the Lord, perfect saints, are stamped with divine grace to assist seekers. All right. See if we can we get rid of that. Anyways, this next one, right? I can't see what that letter is because this thing right there it goes. All right, the Gyan Khand, the realm of spiritual knowledge, or Anda, is a subtle plane with finer fabric of mind and Maya, where an understanding of working of creation up to Brahm, the third region, is attained. Explosions of Gyan provides sublime bliss. This domain is inhabited by gods, goddesses, deities, and angels of the Lord of biblical depiction. Cosmic creations invisible to the human eye are experienced. So in this realm, this Anda realm, is where these celestial heavenly bodies take place. Okay, this is the realm that they exist in. The Pinda was the realm that we exist in, which is the lowest. All right. The realm that they exist in is the second lowest. It says cosmic creations invisible to the human eye are experienced. Adepts comment astral enticement of this domain is so intense that it might endanger further progression of an aspirant. The Saran Khan is the realm of Brahm. This is the point of origin of universal mind. Intuitive consciousness, intellect, and understanding of mind and Maya are shaped here. Some scholars mention it as the domain of an inexpressible splendor in which soul feels humbly overwhelmed. Others refer it as realm of effort, where heroic souls shed last traces of ego and journey upward. It says Karam Khan, the realm of grace, or Parabrahm. This is beyond the three regions of the mind and Maya, where souls are blessed with divine grace. Melodies of Nam, Nani, Ma, Dan word resonant with full force here. Souls which have vanquished the pull and power of the three lower regions reside in this realm. This region. It says Satkan, the realm of truth. Paramatma, the soul's true home, infinite region of eternal truth, abode and formless Lord, where he presides and surveys. Here his will reigns supreme for compliance in all realms. Perfect saints maintain that souls at this stage cannot be pulled back to the lower creation. Divine hierarchy underscores that mind and Maya are active in three realms of Brahm. When grace is showered in Parabrahmatan, soul merits whatever that would mean. All right. Amuti Kayan merges with Pramatam. So this is just a combination of the different realms and the sorts, right? And the point is to get back to the true home of the region of internal truth, so that you don't have to come back to the recycling center and incarnate. All right. And that's what we try to dig on. Okay. So when talking about these things, one wants to be able to do what it is that they can necessary to not come back to the lower form of creation, to have to experience this all over again. And we'll touch on as to why. But we're going to go back and continue on with this. All right. It says, now inside the astral body, for those who are very aware of astral traveling, inside the astral body and quite distinct from it, there is still another body, much finer and more subtle than the astral. It is called by the masters the causal body, and is so named because stored in it are the real causes or seeds of all that is ever to take place in one's life. The causal body is much finer than the astral, as the astral is finer than the physical. In this body, a perfect record is left of every experience of the individual, running through all the countless ages of his experience. Out of all these experiences, character is formed, and from that character, all actions flow. If one is able to read these records, as the master and many others can do, he can see exactly what that man has done or has done or had done to him during his entire past. Also, what he is going to do in the future. It is all there. The past in a visible record, and the future in seed form. So those who are able to see one's future or aura is reading into their causal body. All right. And this is where you tap into, the readings of another sort, right? And this is a higher level. So it says, after the physical, astral, and causal bodies, the mind is the fourth unit in the total constitution of man. The mind is finer than the causal body, more subtle, and in closer proximity to the soul. If we are on the physical plane, we must have the physical body, the astral body, the causal body, and the mind. If we are to manifest in the astral region, we must temporarily leave the physical body. If we go higher to the second region, Trikuti, we leave the astral body behind and function with the causal body and the mind. When we leave Trikuti on the upward journey, we discard both the causal body and the mind, leaving them behind in Trikuti. We do this because we no longer need them in the regions above Trikuti. The next higher or third spiritual region is called Dazwin Dwar, meaning the land beyond the 10th gate. It is here that the returning soul bathes in Mansarova, or the pool of immortality, removing forever the ties to the lower regions. Between Daswan Dwar and the next region is Mahasun, an area of intense darkness which the soul can only cross with the help and the light of the master. The fourth spiritual region is called Bwanwar Gupa, which literally means revolving cave. When the soul meets the Lord of this region, it recognizes its own true grandeur. This is the top of the division of Brahman. Both Pinda and Brahman are subject to dissolutions. One, called the simple dissolution, involves all regions up through Trikuti. This occurs only after many millions of years. The second, the grand dissolution, occurs after immeasurably long periods of time and includes the physical universe and all four regions of Brahman. After a period of darkness, a new creation takes place. Many astronomers possibly will associate this dissolution with the ultimate collapse of the physical universe if excess gravity beyond a critical figure draws it back to a singularity for the start of a new Big Bang. Alright, it says the highest of the three grand divisions is Sat Desh. It is the only perfectively pure region. It is the realm of pure spirit and is the region of truth or ultimate reality. It knows neither death nor dissolution nor change nor any imperfection. It is the great center about which all other worlds revolve. It is the grand capital of all creation, the abode of the supreme creator, Lord of all. No sort of understanding of it can be conveyed to human intelligence. All right. Let's see. Are we digging on this? Yeah, we can go ahead and dig on this. It says, from the center of light, life and power, the great creative current, the Shabbat or word. All right. The Shabbat or word flows to create, govern, and sustain all other regions. The word, right? It says the soul and the word, the soul and sound. So Surat being soul and Shabbat being sound are both of the essence of the Lord. God himself is both sound as well as soul. They are an inseparable three in one. The sound is in reality God in action. He projects himself into everything and revels in this play. He is the worshiper as well as the worship. The grand division of Satdesh is divided into 4 distinct regions, but the difference between the subdivisions is very slight. The returning spirit soul comes first to Satkan, the 5th spiritual region, the true home of the soul, the Father's house from which long ago we descended to seek experiences in the lower worlds. It is the home to which the great masters take their disciples, and it is where the master's responsibility ends. By attaining this state, the soul enters into communion with the Lord. The devotee and the Lord become one and never separate again. The ruler of this region is Sat Purush. He takes over the responsibility of guiding the soul to the end of the journey. The 6th spiritual region is Alak Lok, meaning the inconceivable region. The next highest is Agam Lok, meaning the inaccessible region. The highest region is called Anami Lok, or nameless region, home of Radha Soamai, Lord of the Soul, Supreme Creator. Although the name Radha Soamai, Lord of the Soul, may be ascribed to the Supreme Creator, it is fully recognized that no name can describe him. No thought can embrace him. No language can tell of him. He is the formless, all-embracing one. He is the impersonal, infinite ocean of love. From him flows all life and spirituality, all truth, all reality. He is all wisdom and love and power. All right. Let me see, what else are we digging on? Okay, so we'll pick back up right about here when we get back to this drop. All right. So considering these different levels of existence, these different planes of expression of the soul and spirit, we now understand what the ancients were practicing and what they were referring to during this time of Tepi, right? And we see how looking into the Watchers or the such was actually it was a thing, man. You know, this was a strong connection. Being able to say you walked amongst the watchers, the angels. All right, this was crazy. So we understand that the Sphinx was placed, or ancient Egypt was built during the age of Leo. All right. It says acre or occur or acre signifies the horizon, the point where night turns to day, where day turns to night, 0 point, or the Tepi. So every time there's that in between day and night, that is referred to as Tepi of the day. All right. It is depicted as two lions seated back to back, facing away from each other. They are also called yesterday and tomorrow, as one lion faces toward the east where the sun rises and begins the new day. The other lion faces west where the sun sets and descends into the underworld. Aker also guards the gate to the underworld and opens it for the king to pass through. We also find this pattern on the breastplate of the Sphinx and represents duality. So again, the kingdom of Egypt, or so-called Egypt, extends all the way to where the sun sets. And we know where the sun sets because we got this in just a few drops before, especially when we're digging on the Etherians, right? That's the America. It says the area between the lions' backs often shows the circle of the sun as if rising between two hills. This also signifies the sun's journey across the sky during the day, as well as it being safely carried on the back of Acre during its dangerous night journey in the underworld each night. Acre was not worshipped in the temples as a Nedger or a Netter. He was more connected perhaps to the primeval concepts in Earth's power. Alright. So the Sphinx represented the Earth in physical form. Right? According to a prominent ancient Egyptian myth, the legendary gates of the afterworld were guarded by two gigantic lions or sphinx called Aker. In New Kingdom tomb drawings, the Aker Sphinx of the Eastern Gate sits proud with its hind parts in a hollow. Underneath it can be seen a curious underground stream or duct. Behind the lion towers a huge mound or pyramid, and under it is found a large oval chamber which appears to be hermetically sealed. In this mysterious chamber, it is said to be some lofty secret, no doubt from the gods who ruled the land of Egypt during the remote epoch of Tepi, the first time. This strange chamber was called the House of Sakar and Rostau. The resemblance with the Sphinx complex at Giza is uncanny. Giza in ancient time was called Rostau Sokar. A hawk-headed deity was identified as Horus. All right, and we're gonna continue on. Let's surf through it. It says at the time of the destruction of Atlantis, when the earth shook and all was lost in the oceans of creation, the secret knowledge was hidden in crystals and higher frequency elements to be released at the time of the Tepi. This is that time. It was Tahuti who allegedly left Atlantis in a spaceship with those who were to recreate the next program of man. They waiting for the seas to settle and the sun to come out upon the glistening water below. And when the sun did shine, it rose in the age of Leo, and the lion did roar, and a new creation began, symbolized by the Sphinx who sits beside the Great Pyramid, male, female. It was at that time that Tahuti thought time moved back into the realms of the physical and brought with him those who would walk upon the land. There were supposedly those who survived the Great Flood, the end of one program and the beginning of another, as water means collective unconsciousness. Some believe that at the fall of Atlantis, souls moved underground, guided by a golden light, where they created subterranean cities. Now, that's actually something we came across several times in this drop, or at least on this channel, um, with people being guided or moved through subterranean uh, ways by beings of other origins, right? They call them insects or ant people, and I guess that's where the origin of Ant-Man actually comes from, right? Ant-Man and the ant people that guided the Hopi to where the Hopi now are, right? This is a metaphor for moving into another grid program. These entities were sometimes referred to as the Deros. Now, the Deros reminds me of those beings that are in Malachi York's description, right? And it's crazy because when we start talking about all of these things, a lot of the stuff that he put out was correct, man. You know, and science tends to speak on these things as well. Yeah, see, I knew it. Look. How can we big this up? I mean, but look, right? Like, leader of the Deros, right? This is what Malachi York was digging on, man. You know what I'm saying? We can't make this up. Right? We cannot make this up. And you know, a lot. How do we go back to where we were? Oh man, let's get it back. Yeah, here we go. A lot of what, you know, science is saying is they all kind of fight amongst each other, but they're kind of saying the same shit, man. From different points of view, of course, but they're saying the same thing, and they're fighting each other, right? We can't really blow it up much better than that, but yeah, this is what Malachi York was talking about. All right, so the Deros. Now that would make sense as to what's going on with the Hopi, because then the Hopi comes out as what? A variation of man. A kind of man. Not to take anything away from them, not to, you know, name call or point fingers or anything. But this is again a separation as far as what we're talking about with the whole production or the engineering of a new man. It says when the gods and the goddesses returned to the planet, they created see, here it goes. They created another consciousness hologram using a new blueprint that would create the effect of linear movement through passages called time. It was an alien biogenetic experiment. Here we go. All right. Because these different entities, keep in mind, are not sourced the same. So they're going to want to experience this incarnation on Earth, but they're not going to be able to what? Construct or design bodies equally. You're going to have some that design bodies differently than others. And this is where the whole race comes into play, because every race has a portion of so-called Anunnaki or whatever type blood, you know, but it's fractured into a certain percentage. And those who got it right were the more advanced, and the more advanced were the superior ones, and were the ones originally doing things. And everyone else marveled and wanted to go after that result, right? To be alive, to experience as a soul, as a spirit, is one of the greatest gifts in the universe. It says Tahuti allegedly arrived through a portal in his pyramid-shaped spaceship in the land that the Egyptians would call Kim. There he would build the foundation of his new reality program. Above would be a pyramid in which he and the Tepi as a race of gods would reside. Below would be its counterpart, another great pyramid perfectly encoded and placed at the center of the mathematical design to create an illusion in which souls would experience. The Tepi created a new race, humans. Okay, and this new race being a new angelical form of what they are. All right, it says the Tepi or ancients would visit their creation coming through their pyramids on the planet or arriving in great spaceships that would be a part of humanity's recorded history. They would leave behind great reminders of humanity's creational forces, the Tepi. All right. There were 12 areas or major grid points on the planet through which the Tepi moved, creating 12 nations, all of which came into being at the same time, each independent of each other, yet all created by the Tepi. You see what's going on? 12 areas or major grid points on the planet through which the Tepi moved, creating 12 nations, all of which came into being at the same time, each independent of the other, yet all created by the Tepi, who would go by different names in different lands. Some called them giants who walked upon the earth, their exploits recorded on ancient hieroglyphs, sacred monuments, and texts as creational myths by all 12 nations, each with their own understanding of these creational forces, the Tepi. And there lies in the back and forth, right? The riffraff between cultures and colonies. Because you got different masters, right? Different rulers who set up different politics. So it's all about your politics and what code are you keeping. And this is why we speak to those who keep the code of the pure water flow. You know, we speak 432, that is the 9. So you should be able to pick and see the frequency that we're coming to you in. And everyone has their own channel, everyone has their own frequency, but we're talking about the Tepi, the 12 original nations, man. All across the earth, all at the same time, independent of each other. All right. And they all came into being at the same time. This is why they looked alike across the land. It says their sacred message was recorded in the Emerald Tablet of Thought. The Atlantean, who as the god Tahuti was the ruler of Atlantis for an unspecified period of time, coming and going through the story of its existence. Those who say Tahuti buried the truth about creation in a hall of records, halls of Amenti, and a crystal tablet, which lies beneath the ground in his spaceship near the Great Pyramid. The Tepi allegedly left behind the core crystal which supports this hologram. Some say the Tepi hid the information in a golden capstone above the Great Pyramid. As is above, so is below. Pyramids above and below forming an hourglass or a Z that creates the illusion of time. That's amazing. The metaphors are laced in time and crystal links. When you are ready, you will find them. As realities move from within the spiraling loops of consciousness, ongoing change occurs. The Tepi must return to rebalance and recreate new experiences. As the flame of their crystal creation burns through the fires of the alchemy of experience, there comes a time of separation or merge. The flame separates the transition metals of consciousness, the gold enlightened ones moving on to the higher light due to accelerated frequency, and the slag having to return to the raw materials of the void. We talking that recycling center, man. It says Zet Tepi as an entity has taken many forms. For he is a magician who can bend light to create illusion in the electromagnetic program of our reality, magnetics and illusions. He is known to the Egyptians as thought, like the Lord of magic and time, to the Greeks as Hermes, messengers of the gods, and to the Celtics as the enigmatic wizard Merlin, who disappears up on an apple tree, to the mythic Avalon seeking the secret of immortality and vowing to return. Zet Tepi has always left the messages in all legends, even those of an extraterrestrial nature, that he will return at the end of this time cycle through the alchemy of DNA and consciousness. He brings with him the keys to the gates of a sacred land or a golden age, meaning a spiraling of consciousness as it returns to the higher frequencies of light and understanding. In the role of Enoch, Zet Tepi encoded messages in a language of symbols, archetypes. Hidden in ancient languages, the lost Enochian knowledge reveals the mother tongue as a language of light. All right? A language of light. Now, in the last video we did, we uncovered the fact that you were created as the archetype. Right? You were created as the archetype. And that led us straight to the archons, which got us on this drop right now today as we see it. Right? And now we're talking the mother tongue as the language of light, known to the ancients as Hibiru. So this language of light was known to the ancients as Hibiru. All right? Which sounds like Nibiru or Hebrew. It is the primal seed language introduced at the beginning of this time cycle by the Zet Tepi. Modern research confirms the most ancient form Hebrew to be a natural language. The Nitaru, NTR. Look at what's going on. The most ancient form Hebrew to be a natural language. The alphabetic forms emerging from the phosphine flare patterns of the brain. The same shapes, in fact, born of a spinning vortex. It is a true language of light coursing through our very nervous system. Encoding the natural waveform geometries of the physical world, Hibiru is a harmonic language mimicking the waveform properties of light. The keys of Enoch speaks of turn out to be sound keys to be vibratory matrix of reality itself, the mythic power of the world. The Enochian knowledge describes sonic equations encoded within the ancient mantras and God names capable of directly affect the nervous system and producing profound effective healing and higher consciousness states. DNA, the ancient Kabbalistic tree of life portrayed in the biblical Torah, is now coming to be viewed as a live vibrating structure rather than a fixed tape recording. Many modern scientists regard DNA as a shimmering waveform configuration able to be modified by light, radiation, magnetic fields, or sonic pulses. This goes into the whole sheesh, right? mutation by light affecting the DNA. This is what they're talking about. Mutations, right? The legacy of Thoth Enoch suggests that this language of light, the harmonic science of the ancients, could actually affect DNA. And we know this to be true today. The evidence in Egypt indicates that this was the grand 6,000-year genetic experiment attempted by the Egyptians. The quest for immortality and the stars, a quest described by the great ones of old, a quest initiated by Gilgamesh long ago. The Egyptians were not fixated on an afterlife as thought by early Christian translators, but focused on creating a higher type of human. This also links with biogenetic engineering, cloning, and alien experiments. Along with many ancient cultures, they believed DNA came from the stars and was destined to return and transform. They fucked up, man. You know, this 6,000-year genetic experiment they're talking about is the creation of you know who. Right? And that was a failed experiment. And they were trying to recreate something that they couldn't. All right? Because they were already here. The perfection was already here. So here you have the creations of the creator trying to create. The Greek word phoenix, derived from the Egyptian word pa-hanok, meaning the house of Enoch. The Enochian knowledge suggests these regular cataclysmic changes act as an evolutionary agent provocateur to quicken the resident life forms to the next evolutionary phase prior to exodus from the womb planet creational egg. The knowledge of Thoth and Enoch implies humans are meant to evolve beyond our present terrestrial form. The Egyptians recorded stories of star walkers, occasional individuals who, like Enoch, traveled beyond the great eye of Orion out of the program and returned to walk like gods amongst men. These ancient texts insist we are destined to become as gods, the Mayan lords of light and the Egyptian Tibetan shiny ones. We are in truth their DNA encoded to remember who we are. Such is the golden alchemy of time and consciousness. According to many Earth legends, the Tepi return at the beginning of the end of each cycle. The 13,000-year half point of our solar system, 26,000 years zodiacal orbit around galactic center. Because of conditions in our galactic orbit, these 13,000-year intervals or worlds seem to be separated by cataclysmic upheaval, as history teaches. The calendar in stone of the Great Pyramid describes the so-called Phoenix cycle of our galactic orbit. The present time period ends, converted to our present calendar, in the year 2012. The Greek word phoenix, derived from the Egyptian word pa-hanok, actually means the house of Enoch. Alright, it says the Enochian knowledge suggests regular cataclysmic changes act as an, we got that. Alright. And we'll definitely be digging on more from the Tepi, okay, as we continue. Now, we got a little more to go, and then it looks like, or you know what? I think we'll just stop it here, and then we'll start part 2 with the next phase. That way I can just break that down. Alright, so shalom to the real ones, ahab to the tribe, man. This is just the beginning of this series that we're going to be breaking down. And I don't know, maybe we should be able to drop the next one within a couple of days, and we'll see how good this one does. And then we'll drop the next one, and we'll just keep them going. So like I said, we're going to be getting heavy within this drop, man. It's going to get really, really real. But we're talking about, the creation of man and how, man walked upon so-called extraterrestrials. All right. I'm talking language of light. I'm talking Hibiru, right? Hibiru being that natural language. We got the NTR as being one of the names of the Most High, related to nature, related to natural. And with that said, we are natural by law. And this is part 2. We'll be coming at you real soon with part 3. All praises to the Most High, Shalom, Ahab, to the real ones, the tribe. We'll be back. Peace, peace.